There we go.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're working.
Yes, we are live. And the sound is live as well.
Cool. Is the air conditioner going to be okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It'll
we're
be
getting on to
fine.
the Japanese summer, and I don't want to fucking melt.
Yeah. I think doing this without it's going to be brutal. I'm already messed up enough.
Ooh, we could do a pool. Kiddie pool.
Oh, that's right. We can switch our meta on on Twitch to pool version. There's already people getting in trouble with that. I forget a couple of streamers were banned because they were doing something ridiculous.
Other than casting in a kiddie pool?
Yeah, even worse. Yeah. It gets pretty bad. I mean, the people skirt the rules.
Well,
but we gotta work on that. We gotta do something.
Yeah, really.
We gotta do something.
How many years of sitting in a chair all day? Yeah.
All right.
Taking my kid to daycare today. I'm just like, what's that kind of regular popping sound? Oh, it's my knee.
Yeah, right.
On the bicycle. Right. No, that's good. Yeah.
Every time. Yeah. Nice. Okay, I think we're all good.
Sweet. Yeah.
Oof. Let's double check here. Sorry. Just doing my
Back.
yeah,
Thank you for tuning into the old cast. Yeah.
That'll be the first thing. It's like, I'm on this new pain medicine. All right. Here we go. Okay, we're good?
Yep. All set.
All right. So thanks for
Oh,
tuning
I like that big old
in,
LED thing.
everyone. Yeah. I thought it would give us a good sense of, so you don't have to check your phone and stuff.
Because checking phones at the table
Oh, my.
is a game punishable offense.
Right. Nice. Okay.
Yep.
Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly,
Ooh, I'm excited.
TSR relaunches again.
Yeah.
Disney copyright claims a Norse god.
Right.
And another Gale Force 9 Dune board game.
Oh, another one.
Yes, in addition
In
to this
addition to the
one.
one that's on the table. Okay.
Right. So this is the reprint, and they're doing another.
Right.
So TSR is back.
Okay.
The end. I wish.
Yeah, really.
This is going to probably be most of our discussion. It just
yeah.
goes on and
Yeah.
on and on.
We talked about this a little bit last week, didn't we?
I think so.
Or the
There
week
was
before?
an
Yeah, yeah.
announcement. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
an announcement or rumblings of it, maybe. So the original maker of Dungeons and Dragons has returned with one of the sons. Previously, it was an attempt by both of the sons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Gygax Magazine
Okay.
was an attempt that was shut down by an estranged stepmother. So I think Gygax's last wife held on to everything. His
Right.
final wishes were, this is my wife, she is me, she speaks for me. So,
Right.
that makes it extra colorful, this whole situation. So they're back. And the first thing that they announced is they will be distributing Giantlands.
Okay.
And Giantlands was a modest Kickstarter that was done in 2019. And that's a James Ward game and setting. And he was initially confused because he posted on Facebook, I don't know what this new TSR is. I saw a new logo. That's as much as I know. But now that he has acknowledged that he's working with them and they're going to release this game. And Giantlands has collected a lot of old TSR employees, illustrators, and people to be working together.
Do you know what had happened there? Like, had someone in the new TSR bought the rights to distribute Giantlands without the author knowing about it?
I'm not sure if it was like that formal a deal. I think that just because it didn't do well on Kickstarter, it only had about 70 backers, and
Well, I mean,
yeah,
okay, did it meet its goal?
yeah, it met its goal, but its
Okay.
goal was $100.
Well, hey, you know what? I haven't seen the game. I'm not that sold on it based on who's involved. But, I mean, like, props to you for pricing your thing appropriately and meeting a goal.
Yes, I think it. Yeah, okay. Yes, yes. All
Like
right.
you said, it's the whole cast.
So the new CEO of the new TSR is Justin Nasa, and he's the one I think that's doing the most of the business deals. So on the website, the only things that they mention are Giantlands, are this distribution of Giantlands, and also there is another game that sounds like a kid's game. But anyhow, let's skip ahead to so. The history of TSR is a little strange. So there is a new TSR now, TSR Games, but there is also a previously existing TSR because when Wizards of the Coast, when it was sold to Wizards of the Coast, They only used TSR on the packaging and only used that trademark up until 2000.
Okay.
I think third edition was the last edition that saw TSR printed on the actual.
Right. Okay.
Then that lapsed. A fan or someone that loved those games bought that or claimed it and was releasing the Top Secret RPG.
Okay.
So continued to release that under that brand because it was a lapsed trademark. And then we had the Gygax magazine kind of problem where they were publishing that magazine and then that turned sour, so they stopped publishing that. So a TSR does exist to manage Top Secret.
Okay.
And I guess they're amicably going to be working together. There's no like you have to stop doing this,
Right.
you have to shut down. They understand it's a labor of love and it wasn't some greedy business move to claim a trademark. So
How are they going to differentiate themselves? Is
I don't know.
TSR Games and
Yeah,
one TSR something? I don't know.
yeah, there's a TSR.games and a TSRgames.com. So it is going to be a little bit confusing, and they're not thinking this through. They should just kind of, if they're going to be, helping other people with their games like Giantlands, they should be kind of trying to bring everything under the umbrella for brand.
Oh, well, they are bringing everything under the umbrella, which I'm sure is what we'll get into this discussion. But yeah.
Yes. So they're doing that, and then right after that, they announced that we're re-releasing Star Frontiers.
Right.
So kind of the classic.
D&D in space.
Yeah, classic D&D. So the Keep on the Borderlands kind of messed a little bit with. Was that the one that had a little bit of sci-fi elements in it? The first module. So they flirted with sci-fi.
Yeah, the crashed spaceship. Yeah.
And then Star Frontiers was their first like actual sci-fi game. So the odd thing about this is Wizards of the Coast still owns most of Star Frontiers. So they can use the name. They're going to re-release the name, but many of the monsters and things that were kind of belong to that frontier in the stars are still kind of owned by Wizards, and I don't think there's any cooperation with that. So the frontier sector is going to be kind of original. They're going to have to remake it and rename things. So
I guess they're doing that only for name recognition.
I think so. Yeah, I think they are because they're claiming TSR
Right.
and now they're doing Star Frontiers, but then Giantlands is a similar. It's a post-apocalyptic kind of sounding sci-fi game, but it is a sci-fi game with lasers and things
As opposed to Star Frontiers, which is laser swords.
Right. So they're very similar properties. So it's an odd thing. There's no fantasy yet, unless the children's game that they announced is going to be a fantasy game. But yeah, so the trademark for Star Frontiers did lapse, but they still own the IP, Wizards of the Coast,
Right.
And so that means a lot of the creative works,
Can't be used, yeah.
So it's odd. And previously also, Evil Hat Productions claimed or filed a trademark claim on Star Frontiers back in 2017,
Right.
But they never published anything under that, so that lapsed.
I think from something I saw on Twitter, maybe it WotC never got back in touch or something like that, or deal fell through. Like they wanted to do something with Star Frontiers, Evil Hat, and just nothing materialized. Right.
I see.
And then rather than say, "Hey, we're going to do Star Frontiers," except for all the IP stuff owned by another company, Evil Hat just said, "Okay, I guess we're not doing it."
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, so I don't know. But this new TSR will occupy the original offices of TSR. So they're claiming legitimacy there. And also in that building was a dungeon hobby museum, which already sold TSR branded goods. They were, I guess, allowed to do that with the WotC deal. So they still did that. And
I wonder if it's because I guess does Wizards of the Coast and that by extension then Hasbro own TSR, or do they just own TSR materials?
I think
or IPs, right?
They probably just own the properties and IPs that were part of that deal,
Right.
but they let the trademark lapse because they're not using it anymore.
Right.
So someone else can use it, but there could be a lawsuit in the future, and especially if this is not managed well and they create brand confusion. If they create dragons and dungeons or something, it's like, okay, now we've got a problem.
Because I guess I could see it, the trademark lapse, or if you're only selling TSR branded goods, right? Like here's your travel mug with the TSR logo and all that kind of stuff, then okay, I guess,
Yeah, and if they had, if that exists because there's some kind of licensing agreement, because that's what they claimed the Top Secret was, is he's a licensee, so we don't have any problem with what the other TSR original or the previous version of TSR is doing. So, yeah, that was a little confusing. So, James Ward did post on Facebook, at the present time, I know little or nothing about the relaunch of TSR, and then later acknowledged that, oh, yeah, we are working together to release Giantlands. Okay. And then
I know where
Ernie gets on it does an interview. So, I think the CEO needs to find a PR company or something to handle this and get Ernie
out
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So people were calling it a confusing, a sad, a frustrating, situation. So TSR has officially released the interview is Ernie's opinion and not ours. Ernie is Ernie. We won't tolerate being targeted by trolls, and we really do our best to keep politics out of it. We welcome everyone. That was their official answer to this. So what are they answering? What are they talking about? No. Well, Gary Gygax Jr. Was on YouTube Live with The Bunker, and he was clarifying his position on TSR and claiming ownership of the copyright and this new claiming ownership and the new company. So he said, TSR has been gone. There's tons of artists and game designers and people that play, and recently they were dissed for being old-fashioned, anti-modern trends and enforcing or even having concepts of gender identity. Ha ha ha. That was the laugh. And all I'm trying to do is fill in the strip mine, allow this old fertile soil to produce more games and products again. We're not going to be able to get back the diamond that was Dungeons and Dragons. Will be able to make things that might have chips of diamond material. We're never going to see that great D&D diamond again, I don't think.
Way to sell your company. Well, I mean, like, the biggest stuff at the beginning, which Twitter this morning was just like railing on this guy.
Yeah,
rightly so, I feel. But, like, way to sell your company. Like, it's one thing to say, right, okay, my own opinion aside, we struck gold with D&D, right? Our TSR struck gold with D&D, right? And they did. It's fucking 10,000 pound gorilla. And to say something like, okay, we're probably not going to get back to that level, I guess, is being realistic. Yes. Right? There were better ways to say it than, like, we'll never get back that diamond and filling in a strip mine. Isn't a strip mine, like, largely, like, dead?
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's my idea of a strip mine. Like, strip mine has been stripped. It's done, right? And then to say diamond-like material or diamond material. So not even real diamond. Like, you're putting cubic zirconia bullshit in your games, right? You did not sell your company or your game. And that whole, like, getting back to the TSR statement, like, well, first off, like, Gygax Jr. just like, bro, you're no longer relevant, right? Like, watch out, people have a gender identity.
Yeah.
And then for TSR to say that kind of nothing statement about politics out of games, first off, that's a red flag. And I don't see how you follow that up with everyone's welcome at the table. When
as long as they're not interested in politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
As long as you're not interested in politics. So yeah, that just...
Yeah, so, and that's difficult because, we're at the time where people are starting to try to paint the OSR movement and everything as old-fashioned, backwards.
Rightly so.
Yeah. But, so that's not good. It's not good to have yet another example of this. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And this makes me wonder what the other son, there's two sons, why the other son isn't involved and what he would have been saying during all of this. So it is difficult because, these are people that want to create the kind of games they've always been creating their whole careers. And is there an audience for it? Yeah, there definitely is if there's still some spark there, some creativity, if they're not just going to rehash, the old favorites, if they're not, Well,
I don't know. I think even, we're talking about OSR a little bit, I think there would probably be space, even if they did kind of rehash the old ideas, because nostalgia is a hell of a drug, right? So if you wanted to kind of like, that's why they're keeping the TSR name, right?
Right.
And that's why they're keep flogging the dead horse of Gygax, right? To that nostalgia factor where, like, wow, an original Gygax is working on this thing, and it's TSR again, and, like, why else would they have headquarters back in Lake Geneva again?
Right.
Like, it's all this stuff that's playing on nostalgia, which, fair, I totally get it, right?
Right.
But I think there will be a market for their stuff, regardless of how bad it is, just because of that nostalgia thing.
Right.
But, as you said, actually doing interesting kind of new creative stuff would give them more of an audience, apart from, like, Gygax spouting off random bullshit in an interview that makes no sense, right? So,
yeah. So it's it'll be interesting to see, and I think that we've had this before. A couple of people that are working on games, or I think the virtual tabletop, they're trying to claim legitimacy by their
lineage.
How connected they are to Lake Geneva. That's that's just reinforcing some bad things that tabletop has been dealing with for decades.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah. So we'll see, and we just need some new legitimacy, some people that we can trust to constantly produce. And I think we have. You have companies like Free League that they're producing interesting original properties. They're doing supporting licenses and things.
Right.
Modifius, that we have some companies that are kind of reliably. And it depends on your taste. I mean, there's a lot of those games aren't to people's taste. But we need some new standards to standards by the reliable old standards to. Kind of replace some of the older and just the kind of disarray that the launch of this company was in. If they really seriously wanted to do this and be competitive and assert their legitimacy, they needed a real a concentrated voice and not just a bunch of random. Well, my daddy, That's,
I don't really see this company going anywhere. Yeah. And that's from me with no business sense. So props to starting a company again, right?
Yeah, so we'll see. But and they did a mock-up flyer of a TSR con, and Giantlands has pushed on the TSR website. Giantlands has pushed, LARPing and cosplay and a theme park where you can play your character.
Oh, we did talk about this.
Yeah,
right.
So they're pushing. They're trying to say we're relevant. We're paying attention to what people are doing. And maybe they saw a screenshot of a Twitch stream where someone was wearing horns and they're like, yes,
we can do
costumes.
That,
It's costumes. That's the key. Yeah. So right now they've got kind of a confusing release of products, and we'll see if they don't get themselves into trouble with WotC and Hasbro's attorneys come a calling.
So. Yeah, really.
So who knows what they're going to do? Because unless they're really carefully going to look at what WotC doesn't own as far as what they could do with Star Frontiers and stuff, that could be crazy.
I think that if they were smart, what they would try and do is, okay, Star Frontiers is a lapsed trademark.
Mm-hmm.
Use that, publish as much as you can that's not infringing on WotC's IP. Do that with other stuff, and then, like you said, kind of grow to be reliable, and then go, hey, WotC, can we license some of this other Star Frontier IP from you,
Right. Yeah, as soon as they start generating income, because they did mention, I think the CEO mentioned that they want to produce a D&D, advanced D&D material, so old school, old system, old school, but new things. So
talk about a saturated market.
Yeah.
But in this case, if they did it well, and this was obviously not be marketed to me because I'm done with that game, TSR putting out something very similar to old D&D or a D&D would probably give them a leg up than all of the other retro clones that are going out there just because TSR. Right? So maybe they should try doing that.
Yeah, that's true. And there was an article though that I read that listed everybody that's doing OSR and has really established themselves, like Dungeon Crawl Classics, and there's so many companies now that have made this their thing. So I don't know if TSR there's any room for them.
Well, that's just it. I think that any room they made for themselves would be because of that TSR logo.
Right. And it's only going to take a few what is this kind of releases for people to be like, okay, that's not a thing.
Yeah. I mean, they could kind of try and sweeten the idea, or my words aren't working today, but one of the benefits of all those kind of older school games is, even though they're all slightly different, certain times the difference is so slight I don't see why the games exist, but they all kind of work together.
Yes,
because they're all within certain tolerances. So if they were smart, TSR could start making those old D&D or AD&D games, and they'd all be compatible with all this other third-party stuff that people are already putting out. So.
No, that's true. Yeah, and especially if they have original creators and original illustrators and artists, which they're claiming that all these people are involved, that would really generate a lot of, and that's kind of what Riot Minds is doing that a lot. They're using the old illustrators that were involved in 80s Swedish 80s and 90s Swedish RPGs, and they're having them do original stuff for new games, and that's getting people looking at their games because they
they like
hits them right
now.
now.
That nostalgia thing again. It's like, oh man,
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more in the future.
Yeah, and she'll be like, "Wow, they really fucked that up, didn't they?" Yeah.
I can't wait for the other brother to say, "No, the new TSR."
Yeah. Maybe this is all some, like you said, the new TSR. Maybe thinking like the new Coke. Maybe this is all some giant conspiracy thing.
Yes.
To pump up
Top secret?
the Watsy brand, where
yeah,
they go like, "Oh, you've tried
Yeah, right.
new D&D. Come back to classic."
Yeah,
right?
classic. We've got the classic. You can't. It's not published by TSR, but yeah, you've loved us since third edition. So speaking of, we should just have a segment now just called "Oh Disney," because every week there's always like what. So Disney. So on Redbubble, Disney claimed copyright, or I guess trademark, of Loki, the God of Mischief, and so told a bunch of artists that have had things up there for years, you can't sell this. We own Loki. And it's based on the success of the Disney Plus Loki show, and so I guess if what's that?
I'm sure I'm not disputing the success, but didn't that only just kind of recently get released? Are we up to?
Yeah, it's in the middle of, I think it's the third of 6 episodes.
Okay.
And they're calling it, they call everything a success. They're not going to show any numbers, and it's not a very good show.
I haven't watched it. I've muted that hashtag. I'm just tired of saying it.
All of the Disney Plus superhero shows, I think, keep getting stuck in this is just TV, don't worry about it, because they're like pushing for like, this could almost be good, and then it's just TV, and then the scripts and the acting and everything just kind of collapse under this. You don't have to try so hard, it doesn't have to be that good. But so unless it's artwork that is obviously Tom Hiddleston's Loki, that's obviously infringing, and the reason that Disney got a little, not only the success of the show or the maybe Google trend popularity of the show, they did win or were awarded a copyright for Disney Loki, I believe, like specifically Disney Loki is a term.
Do you mean like the character likeness?
No, I think just the term, like the copyright. So you can't say Disney Loki. That's theirs. Yeah.
Okay. So
they have made they have made Loki a character in the Disney world by calling it Disney Loki. So because Loki can't be copyrighted, but they won that. So now they're like kind of exercising. And it seems like they've done previous things like this that seem very stupid and seem like it's just going to get them bad press, but they just want to see if they can get away with it.
Yeah.
It's just like let's send them out there, because I mean I'm sure a lot of this legal contact now can be automated. I'm sure there's software where lawyers just press the cease and desist button and point it at an email address, and so they're just trying to see what they can get away with and how much they can shut down.
And they keep, in addition to that, because the way you presented them is a bit like, let's just see what happens. Where it's like, let's do this because even if we lose, we're getting closer to it being legitimate, and we keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, right? So yeah, and I completely agree with you. If artists were putting up Disney Loki, like the Tom Hiddleston in his green, then much as I don't like Disney, I can say, okay, you're right.
Yeah, that's
Disney's Loki. Or that's obviously copyright infringement. But as someone who's a fan of Norse mythology, go fuck yourself, Disney. You didn't invent Disney. You didn't invent Loki, right?
Right. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland and Snow White and all those fucking things. It's like
you didn't invent those either. You just stole them, and now, because of lawyers, you now own them, right?
Right. Now they're Disney's Snow White. Yeah. So, but one of the artists involved on Twitter, it's Your Boswell, changed their name on Twitter, the display name, to Loki's butt slide. so all of the press and all the tweet quotes that have been used in these articles have that listed at the top.
That's good.
Yeah, that's kept things entertaining, and it's just what, and they had the same kind of reaction, like, what are they doing? Like what are they
doing? Is exactly what I said. They're using their money and their clout to bully people and go get closer to owning fucking everything in the world. So I want to see someone with a display name of like Loki and then some reference to that the original Loki shapeshifted into a fucking horse, got fucked, and then gave birth to Sleipnir, right? Like that's what I want to hear. Right?
Yeah, when is that going to be in
the
show?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and this follows, like we were saying, Disney just seen what they can get away with. This follows Disney trying to copyright The Day of the Dead after they released Coco.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I was getting mixed up with like
The
John
zombie movie.
John Romero zombie movie. Where like
Dia de los
yeah,
Muertos.
how the fuck? How do you have the audacity to try and copyright
Right.
a culture's festival?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, if you're just doing it in English, then maybe they won't notice. Yeah, I don't know.
Man, ouch.
Yeah, so that follows on this kind of
Yeah.
ridiculousness. And I don't know why they wanted to claim that so they could do a sequel and then merchandise more heavily, or I don't, yeah. Or maybe people. See, the thing that they don't appreciate what they're doing is they're bringing awareness from other cultures to the Day of the Dead celebration and its beauty and the belief system of it and everything. And then people will go look for all of the huge amount of Day of the Dead, folk art and things that are out there being produced by, Mexican artisans and things. And instead of them buying that, please buy the Disney branded, Day of the Dead.
I bet you that's exactly why Disney could do it. Because I was thinking about, of course, I know very little about Day of the Dead, but when Coco came out here, which is here, it's called Remember Me.
Yes.
In Japanese, right? Right. We watched it, and at first my partner was like, "So is this like Mexican Halloween?" And I'm like, "No, it's." Or at first it was kind of scary because all these skeletons, and I'm like, "No, it's more like Obon." Right. Like you're talking to your ancestors
worship.
and your family that came before, and using that kind of cultural touch, and it's like, "Oh, I get it now." Right. I kind of understand what's happening, and my partner really likes that movie now. But exactly what you said, Disney tried to copyright that because after bringing awareness of this holiday, which I'm sure they mangled and
there's probably some distortion.
Anyway, people go look for artwork and all they find is the Disney branded stuff. Because if they had gotten away with that, it'd be like, nope, cease and desist, get the fuck out of here. Oh, it's only Disney stuff, which, tangent. But back when we were playing Netrunner, I didn't get why NBN, the Disney Corp of Netrunner, was so dystopian. Now I'm like, oh, holy fuck, because they own all the media and entertainment, just like the House of Mouse.
Yeah,
wow. They're the worst corp in there, just like Disney is the worst corp in reality. Jesus.
Yeah, it's not going to get better. It's only going to, they're just going to keep eating away at everything.
By the way, did I mention we've turned this into a Fuck Disney?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Podcast. Yeah. It's no longer tabletop RPGs. It's just, as you said, oh, Disney.
Okay, well, bringing you back to tabletop.
Right, all right.
So, Gale Force 9, who did release, this is the kind of redesign and remake of the original Dune board game. They are doing another version of this game. So they released cover art that shows the characters from the movie.
I was wondering.
Be released. Yeah, so this is going to be tied and released closer to the timing of the movie.
Which is when?
I believe October or November, but it's at the Venice Film Festival. I think the first premiere of it will be at a film festival. And they just showed the artwork, so it's probably not quite, production ready yet, and who knows, what they could run into production-wise. But they're releasing another game, and it's not just a movie rebranded version of this.
Oh, okay, that would have been my guess. Okay.
Yeah, so that makes me think, because people notoriously kind of say this is a little Twilight Imperium in the length that this game. This can turn into a 6-8 hour game depending on how competitive you're being, how many houses you're playing, and so maybe they're realizing that this isn't giving people won't give people a film experience. This is a more hardcore board gamer kind of. Also,
supposedly, I think I heard something that the film is only book 1 of that first book of Dune, and there don't seem to be plans for a 2 or 3.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, I think it's
anyway.
It's up to the water of life. I think. Yeah. So that might be their thinking as well. Is people are not going to know. They're not going to get the whole story if there's not any more films. So we want to release a product. We have this license. We want to release a product that people can see the movie and then, I want to play the game.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a reskin, but they're taking kind of the the DNA of the beloved original version that they have the rights to, basing it all on the art. The board that they showed as well is beautifully redesigned. Cool. So the graphic design of the film looked really nice. And they're also introducing a new 2-player mode. Kind of giving you a new opportunity maybe to play directly the conflict you're seeing Atreides versus Harkonnen in the film. And so it's an interesting move that I wasn't quite sure. I mean, so they asked them questions about what you're doing. So they're doing the 4 original houses. So the 4 factions will be Atreides, Fremen, Harkonnen, and Imperium, similar to the original game, but there were expansions to the original game.
Nobody just read. Okay.
They're going to streamline the rules to make it easier to learn, pick up and play. So maybe reducing like what you do in phases and how complicated those phases are. A new market deck. That'll include the tragic or the classic the classic treachery cards, and lots of other new bonuses and things to make play a little more fun. More spice blows, so there's more. I think that speeds up the game. I think the rate of that. So you're chasing spice. There's more spice to get. Beautiful new board. The allies mode. So that 2-player version is an allies mode that they're doing. So you're kind of working together to maybe overthrow or take over. Yeah, take over Arrakis.
I can kind of see that. I mean, sometimes pandemic, even before that, it's difficult to get a number of players together to play a game, and if you need like 4 players to make a board game fairly enjoyable. Yeah, that's pretty hard to do.
That might be
so a 2-player mode. Maybe you could have them like people go head to head directly and just reduce the number of players.
Right.
If you don't want to be that competitive, hey, co-op mode.
Right.
It's you against the board.
Yeah,
right?
And I think that's what they've done, because I think this plays best at 3 or 4 players. So 2 players isn't ideal. So they wanted to do something with what if you've only got one other person?
Yeah.
And they're changing kind of the 2 ways to win. So conquest of strongholds or economic victory. So kind of just speeding it up and making it more available to casual gamers.
Right.
So that's odd but interesting. I mean, because they're going to kind of be competing with themselves. But if people wouldn't have bought this or been really disappointed, we're like, what is this? When they bought just a movie reskinned version of this original game.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, I guess then they are kind of competing with themselves. But if this, which I do want to play, if this monster wasn't appealing to a demographic of gamers, make something that does, and you're not really competing. Now you've got both of them.
Yeah, and hopefully, if they can keep it clear, this is for new gamers, or this is beginner friendly, or if just it's distributed differently. If it's going to be in Walmart or whatever, more accessible to people that wouldn't be searching out board games. So that'll make a big difference about where you can find it.
That was probably a consideration, if not the reason they went with like movie branded stuff.
Right.
Visually distinct from this.
Yeah. And if they dip the quality of the components and things a little bit to make it a more because the price
more inexpensive.
Yeah,
that's probably like $50.
Yeah, it's like a $50 game, and so a lot of people are gonna be like, let's try that, and that's expensive try.
Yeah.
So if they dip the quality of the components down and keep the look of the film, they've got a piece of merchandise, and so maybe they're just trying to get the most out of this license, which they've been punished by the pandemic and not being able to take advantage of. So we'll see. So now there's a couple Dune board games out.
There's also, I guess, technically there's Rex.
Yeah, right. Which is the kind of the Twilight Imperium.
Yeah, the Twilight Imperium just reskinned game of this since they couldn't get the license. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so that'll make it even more confusing. But so and I think that's why they were excited to have the license to be able to re-release it, and they did a nice job of not making it a giant monster.
I'm surprised. Like that is compared to some of the other board games that are up there on your shelf.
Right.
That is a svelte box.
Yeah, it fits very nicely, and an interesting design. Like they did nice. The graphic design is nice and differentiates itself. It doesn't like connect you too heavily to any of the films or television, movies or anything. So we'll take a look and see how the reviews of that do when it comes out, and kind of where it's available. If it's pushed heavily on Amazon or whatever, then people will probably get their hands on it. But in the meantime, we'll stick with the the first re-release of it.
I do want to play that.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't know if I have 8 hours to commit.
We'll play quick. We'll play wily. We'll kill each other off very quickly.
If it's anything like Twilight Imperium 3, haven't played that game. Sold my version of the game because that took ages. Don't play that game with like 5 people when one of them only has like an hour to play.
Yeah, right.
As that person said, well, I got to go, so let's bum rush that guy. And then, that was...
So a little quick suicide run on his way out.
That was not fair. Yeah, that kind of ruined the game. I also understand now why some games have let's simulate the first 3 turns. But I don't think your game is that great if you have to do that.
Yeah, right.
Like, I understand speeding it up.
Right.
How about you make the game interesting during those 3 turns so you don't have to go, okay, we're all on turn 3 now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. So they just want like a better board state, I guess, to
then
really
I
start playing?
I guess with that Twilight Imperium 3, they said the first couple turns almost always play out like this.
So
People just kind of like expand, and there's not a little conflict. So
that's funny.
it's a quick fix.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the third edition lets you skip the first 3 turns.
Yeah,
There we go. That was
yeah.
the innovation. All right. You're in turn 4. Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. Kind of like getting back to TTRPGs, kind of like D&D, where it's like, we're all going to start at 5th level.
Oh, yeah. Right.
How about you make levels 1 through 4 interesting as well?
Right. Yeah. And just make sure there's adventures or pre-written, campaigns that will get you there in a fun, interesting way. Oh, but TSR is going to take care of that. Don't worry.
I'm sure. Yeah.
They've got it handled.
Cool.
Wow. So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's HiveMind, HYVEMYND, where I'm leaking.
Oh, are you okay?
I didn't mean that. All right, I'm posting. How about that?
Uh-huh.
Spreads of the Card Hammer Fantasy Battles rule book that I'm trying to lay out.
Nice. And you, an editor?
I had the rules edited.
Nice.
And now I'm kind of putting them in layout because I looked and said, I can't just post a link to the Google Doc because some things do need diagrams to better help explain what's going on.
Nice.
So I'm trying to make it like as big with, as reader friendly as possible instead of having to go with a magnifying glass. So it's like half an A4, half a letter, like big margins, 12-point type, and yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll get it done soon. But yeah.
Excellent.
How about you?
So I do a single panel gag cartoon every week. I live stream the creation of that. So Abusecartoons on Twitch and YouTube, and then Abusecartoons on Twitter if you want to follow that. And if you'd like to support the weekly, please consider becoming a patron, a weakling as we call you.
So never not going to be funny.
We can change that name. Patreon.com/upturntable. And if you go to upturntable.com, you can see all of our unboxings and actual plays and reviews of everything that we've been doing, as well as all 94 episodes of the weekly. And something that's going up soon is the Rune Masters unboxing and kind of flip through of the rulebook. So that's Riot Mind's kind of answer to Forbidden Lands.
Cool.
So that was surprising. And I guess S's sometimes are invisible to me because I think I call it Rune Master the entire time instead of plural. It's Rune Masters. The DM is a Rune Master.
I thought it was Runes Master.
Yeah. So I missed that the whole time. So I'm going to try to correct that visually. But but it's a well-produced game. Gorgeous illustration.
Nice.
Kind of old school, simplified, streamlined kind of Swedish 80s RPG. So based on the kind of basic role play or RuneQuest kind of percentile dice. So, you take a look at that on the channel, and we will be back next week.
Awesome. Later, mortals.
Goodbye.